I think growth, it comes along with growth. So as far as building community, right? In what ways do you think boxing, as you said, being a positive tool for the community? Right now, we're seeing a lot of violence in Lynchburg. It's a shooting every other day. So talking about starting with the kids, like in what ways could boxing serve as a positive tool for the building of the community?
Well, it's just respect, right? Like, so it's really easy for somebody to go on Instagram or Facebook and say something really negative about somebody, right? And then one of my best friends, he's gone now, but he had a really violent past. And so he came in and, I found out how violent it was. So the first day I made him spar and I beat him within inches of his life. Because I didn't want him, I thought, if he's going to be bad, I don't want him around. And a few months later, he came back. You probably remember him, Chauncey.
Mm-hmm.
And then he started really working. He wanted to get my attention because I had gotten his respect. And then, this guy, he's a violent felon and he's working out right next to a lawyer. He's working out right next to a pastor. And then they get to know each other. And then they kind of cross-pollinate with the positivity and the respect that he had for boxing. And, there was a lot of people that were scared of him. But when my son was born, Chauncey held him. And I never felt safer than when I was around him. I know, like, these boxing events here that happen in Lynchburg, it's a sanctuary for the broken. So they're coming here to heal. So, like, no matter what, they just had to shoot in it the other night at a restaurant. I'm not going to name the restaurant because they're a sponsor, but people are going in there doing these bad things because they don't have respect for what's happening or the other people.
Mm-hmm.
But we've got this community that it really just demands respect because everybody knows each other. They call each other out on their BS. They talk it through. It's a really, even though it's 1,500 people coming to the fights, it's almost always the same 1,500. Then a new person comes, and then the new fans are like, hey, man, how are you? How do you know Scott? How do you know Austin? And, we just all intermingle. It's like, it's a real closeness of like how communities used to be.
Yeah.
But, social media has made us more separate than ever.
Mm-hmm.
It's something about that in-person interaction and that shared love of the community. It's hard to explain. I can't really put my finger on it, but bad things don't really happen around boxing, at least around here. I mean, it can for sure, but
yeah, and it's kind of ironic because I know boxing and UFC gets a bad rap. Sports like football, where they're called out for being violent, right? But then, like you said, someone could be at a restaurant, someone could be at a party, and lose their life. But you could go to a boxing event, UFC event, football event, come on back home.
Yeah, I would say boxing and MMA events are typically probably more safe than a football game. We just don't hear about it from the football game as much, especially in the NFL. I mean, they're a giant. Oh, somebody died in the bathroom from a fight. Oh, we'll do all these non-disclosures. This will never get out. I don't know. I just think it's something about when you actually fight each other, you gain a respect for the other human in a way. It's like there's a truth in it. That's what it is. Everything we do is a lie, right? Like on social media, they're talking about this, or everybody, man, I can't believe it. The average income in Lynchburg must be $1 million a year. They're all balling, right? But see, it's all a lie.
Yeah.
And they got the filters and the pictures, and they stealing somebody else's picture, taking a picture in front of a car. But when you fight somebody, when you see it, it's just a truth. There's an honesty there that doesn't exist anywhere else in the world anymore. And just being in something like that just changes you, I guess.
Yeah, because I remember my experience coming to your gym, sparring and working out, like having, some little bit of anger issues. It kind of taught me temperance, where I just couldn't wait to go to the gym and hit the bags, go through my rounds, jump rope, do my workout, spar. Kind of taught me temperance, and I found myself not being moved by other people. So I would go to work and someone would say something and I'm like, nah, let it go. Could you talk about that?
Yeah, like I said, I mean, especially when somebody's coming from place of ignorance, right? Like every now and then somebody will come in here talking really hard to Austin, and I'll try to calm them down. Like, listen, just why don't you do a workout, see what it is? And then they'll push the issue for hours. And I'll be like, all right, you just apologize afterwards. I'm going to video it so you can remember.
Yeah.
And then he hits them and they get knocked unconscious. I mean, people think size matters or if they're an athlete in another sport. I just, like I said, I think there was a guy, he's a member here, his name's Cougar McGraw, and he has had this quote that the unearned ego is part of the untrained. Because, see, they don't know better.
Yeah.
They don't know better. So, like, a lot of times I feel sorry for them. Unless they start really making it super personal. Now, if they're another fighter and they made it personal like Cordell did with Dawson, I'm going to call them out. But, you know, there's this group of hillbillies in Virginia and they're, you know, they always like to talk a lot of trash about boxing. And I've never responded. And then they got riled up and one of them sent me my children's names. Now that changes things a little bit. So we I ended up getting that calmed down, but you know, most of the time, if somebody's not making it too personal, like, oh, you're a bum, I'll knock you out and all this. All right. You know, Austin always, people, because he's getting all the attention now. He's like, Scott, this person said this. I was like, well, don't look at it. I mean, if you don't look at it, don't have any power over you.
Yeah, especially when you know that they're hiding behind a username on a platform. Because I think that's where a lot of was it like the internet bullying, the trolling is what they call it?
Well, I do. I definitely think that's where a lot of this violence is coming from. I can't remember. I interviewed with somebody the other day. It may have been Andre Whitehead, and they asked me what I thought. And I don't want to get anybody upset. I'm not trying to challenge freedom of speech by any means. Radio and TV have certain parameters that they're governed by from the government. Social media needs something similar, just something similar. I'm not saying limit free speech by any means.
Yeah.
But when you have pedophiles and they can link up with other pedophiles and reaffirm the way that they feel, when you have racism and they can meet with somebody else, right, and they can affirm each other, that is the breeding ground for hate.
Yep.
That's where the violence comes from. I mean, you can't tell me otherwise. I mean, there might be studies on it. I might be wrong, but I will be surprised if I am.
You're right. You're right.
Because I don't, look, in the gym, I ain't ever seen anybody in the grocery store calling somebody a bum.
You're right.
Oh, you ain't got no money, bitch. I've never seen that. I've never seen nobody talking like that in this gym.
Yeah.
Right? They only say all that stuff on the internet. And we're not evolved to deal with that hate and not be able to reciprocate against it. Because, see, people are living in a world without consequence.
You're right. You're right. And then they go on that crash out mission. I think it's sad because, like you said, I think the fact that they can hide behind a username online and there's no respect for the other person. So they're just saying crazy stuff, not knowing that these are real human beings that are going through, that have lives, especially for guys like you, Austin, you know, guys that have really clout on social media. You're not going to hear the end of it. Once it's shared once and it goes viral, then
there was some guy, I can't remember where it was locally, and I commented on one of my buddies. My buddy's got like an above ground THC business, and I commented on it. He was just messing around about vaccinations, and I just made some kind of joke, lighthearted joke. He knows how I am. I'm really OCD, don't like germs. And I made it light. And the guy came under it and he called me every name in the book, told me I was the downfall of masculinity in the world. It was like 3 paragraphs about what a punk I was. He called me a cuck, all kinds of stuff. So I was like, oh, we're doing this. So I made a video. I said his address and I said I was going to come visit him. And he apologized. Yeah. But see, like, why does he got to get that nasty on the internet to me? Like, I didn't say nothing to him. And so that's why, like, everybody thinks I'm, like, insane, because when people start getting super personal, I call them out on it. Yeah. It just, I don't know. I just think there's got to be something to try to stop people from being so vicious on the internet, man. It's
more
insane.
accountability. Yeah. Yeah, because it is, man. I mean, you're seeing kids being bullied or they're pushed or they're taking their own lives because they can't deal with someone, saying whatever and starting group chats. It does get a lot crazy, man.
The one positive thing I've seen, I know that they talk about that younger girls and teenage girls are getting really bad body image issues because of the fitness influencers. But I've noticed a lot of the female fitness influencers are like, this is my picture I'm posting, but this is my picture if I'm not sucking in posed.
Oh, yeah.
And they're showing them that it's realistic, right? They're showing them also that some of it's posed to try to. So I think that maybe people being more conscious of things like that and how it might be impacting. Because, my boys are 10 and 8, and they've only lived in a world with the internet.
Yeah.
And, I've never, and social media being big. And, I'm lucky that my co-parent, she doesn't allow them to have a ton of internet time. But, I mean, it's just, it could be so much more positive.
Yeah. I believe you, man. That's why I try to use my platform to push out a different view. Take people like yourself and other people and just push out their stories. To kind of help shape people's mindset. So on the next topic, we're talking about personal growth. So, of course, this is the podcast that I call The Art of Reinvention. So could you tell me about your personal reinvention story of how this journey through boxing and love for the sport has changed you from day one to who you are now?
Oh, yeah, it's easy. I only used to care about Scott Sigmon. Then I started caring about a couple of people. Then I only cared about Scott Sigmon and money. And then through real trials and tribulations, not, living the truth, right? I found out that Scott Sigmon's not enough. And it's really easy to say this when you have a lot of it, and I know that, because when you don't have any of it, it seems like it's everything. But I think this is why so many guys get really rich. And I'm not like, I'm not no billionaire or nothing like that. But money doesn't matter, right? Like seeing Austin get to change his path, right? Giving Rashawn a new platform. I mean, he's so positive already. That guy was going to win at life no matter what. But now he gets to plant seeds in this. Seeing Owen go from what he was and pushing it to these other kids, right? So, I'm a lot more selfless because I used to, I only cared about myself. And I used to work, money was my God. And and like I said, I know when you don't have a lot, it seems like everything. But when you get to a place where you're comfortable, you start to realize, that time with your mom, that time with your kid, that time with your loved one, or this person that experiences the world the same as you, showing them the ways to avoid the pitfalls that you had. Now, some people, and, Austin's one of them, sometimes he wants to learn the hard way. And, I learned the hard way. But he's smarter than me. Sometimes he listens, right? So, just trying to give people the knowledge so they don't have to have their life quite as hard as you did.
Got you.
So, I mean, I would say that's my personal growth. I elaborated a little extra and went on a rant, but yeah, I'm a lot less self-oriented, and I don't worship money as my God any longer.
Got you. So somewhere out there's a young fighter that's trying to come up in the ranks. What advice could you give them that mirrors some pivotal advice that you got in your career that helped you change?
You definitely need to have a manager that's transparent with you. They've got to be willing to teach you the business. They've got to make you a business partner. You're not an employee for them. You're the majority stakeholder. You're the only one that can die in the ring, not the manager. You got to find somebody you trust. You got to be loyal to each other. The road is going to be harder than you can imagine, and it's going to be way longer than you could have ever believed.
Got you. Great advice. Great advice.